Today, I want to talk to you about the number one planning mistake that I see people make on their to-do lists. So if you're someone who makes a to-do list or sets a top 3 every day, but finds that you don't get the items done that you anticipate that you're going to be able to complete, then this video should be helpful for you. Hello, my charmed ones, and welcome back to my channel for another video. If this is your first time with me, I would like to say welcome. My name is Alexis, but I'm also known as MissTrenchcoat all across the internet. I'm an online entrepreneur who designs and sells productivity tools, strategies, and skills to help you manifest success with less stress. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave some links down below in the description box where you can check out more of my work online, and feel free to download some of my latest free productivity tools over at thecharmedshop.com. Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to talk to you about that number one planning mistake that I see people make on their to-do lists. And in order to help me illustrate this point, I'm actually going to give you guys a little snapshot into my planner, because this is something that recently happened to me where I had something on my to-do list and I didn't do it for a number of reasons that I'll get into. But once I reworked what the issue was, I was able to very easily complete the task. So I want to use an example from my own planner to help you guys understand this issue and help to explain how you can overcome this issue yourself if this is something that happens to you often. Or for me, it doesn't happen all the time, but I'm just like you guys. I'm human and I make planning mistakes too, because I think just as much as anyone could possibly know that being productive and getting things done is not just something that you learn once. It really is something that you have to practice day in and day out. So if you ever hear me talking about a lot of the same concepts and the same planning strategies over and over, I know I can sometimes sound like a broken record, but I really understand the fundamentals of productivity, that in order to really master productivity and execution in your own life, you really do need to day in and day out work on practicing the basics. So that is why I'm sometimes pretty repetitive with the information that I share, because I really do see the bigger picture and how it's not just, it's never going to be like a new secret hack that I'm going to be able to give you that's really going to help you transform your productivity. It's really the basic fundamentals that I'm going to hopefully instill in you to practice habitually that are really going to help you in the long run with your productivity and success. So if you ever reach a point in my videos where you hear me say something that you're already familiar with, and you can kind of sense your eyes maybe glazing over and your ears kind of going a little dull, like, I've already heard this before, I challenge you to take a step back and be mindful and think about what I'm saying and how it could apply to your life in this moment in a new way. Because every day we face different challenges, we grow, we advance, we progress. So the way that you might interpret a tip that I give you one day could be different from the next day. So I really challenge you, if you feel like, I'm talking about the same things over and over again, I want you to take a moment, think about what I'm saying and how it could apply to your life in a different way moving forward. Okay, so what is that number one mistake that people make when they're planning out their to-do list? Well, it's that they put a project on their to-do list instead of an individual task. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but I don't think I've really gone into depth with the theory of this very common productivity issue, so I thought I would dedicate this video to really helping you guys understand and dissect this very common problem. Okay, so let's say you have your to-do list for the day. Either you make a complete list of items that you want to accomplish in the day, or you're like me and you like to focus in with a top 3. When you are making a to-do list, it is very important that all of the items that you write down are actually individual tasks and not, for example, a complete project. Why is that? Well, because a complete project might have a lot of different actions and a lot of different steps that you need to keep track of and accomplish in order to meet the project objective, right? But when you're writing something down that's an individual task, that is something that is much more specific, much more directly actionable, and you have a better sense of whether or not you're going to be able to accomplish that one task in your day. Now, I realize that there are many other theories of productivity and ways that you could be organizing your to-do list, like theming your work days the way I do, or doing block scheduling. And I do plan on making some videos in the future that touch on those strategies specifically. But when it comes to setting your to-do list for the day, I really believe it's important to just make sure that your top 3 or the tasks on your to-do list are individual to actions. They are not like collections of tasks that would be considered a project, because a project could take you a significant length of time that often is hard for us to judge the exact amount of time something will take if you're working on a project, as opposed to saying, I'm going to do this one action. A lot of times it's easier for us mentally to calculate the time and energy that would go into a single action as opposed to a collection of actions that we might consider a project. Many people ask me how I actually define a project versus a task, right? Where I draw the line. And to be completely honest with you, I have to say it is a little bit tough sometimes to distinguish a task from a project, because sometimes the things that we do might seem like little mini projects because they actually have like more than 1 or 2 individual little action steps that we need to take in order to complete the task. So the way that I like to differentiate like a classic project from like a task is a project will often have a lot of different types of activities that go into the completion of the objective. Whereas what I consider a task, right, will be actions that are incredibly similar. So for example, something like responding to emails in the morning. Maybe you're someone who writes down, on your to-do list, respond to emails. Maybe you'll have a couple of emails that will be in your inbox. So I realize that each individual email is going to be like an individual action step, but it might not be necessary for you to write down like respond to the email from Karen, respond to the email from Cindy, respond to the email from Joe. You may not need to write down the individual emails because I think it is most of the time enough to say, respond to my emails, right? So because that is a lot of repetitive action, it's a lot of the same type of actions to go through and respond to emails that you see come in through your inbox. Now, let's juxtapose that to something that might be a complete project. Let's say putting together a marketing plan for a product for your business. Now, something like that, putting together a marketing plan, may have a lot of different types of tasks that go into it. Maybe photographic assets, maybe website images, copy. There might be other people that need to be involved or consulted. There might be actual things that you need to build, like websites or, social media presences up. There's so many different things that might go into something as big and as vague as the project of putting together a marketing plan, right? So that is a good example of something where a lot of the actions that you're going to do are going to fall into different contexts of when and how you actually complete the objective overall. So I hope you can kind of see with that example the difference between a task and a project. So now I want to go ahead and show you guys inside my planner to something very recently that I was actually, having a hard time working on, because I actually put something that was a little bit more like a project on my to-do list as opposed to being an individual action. So as you can see in this image, on Wednesday the 10th, the first item on my top 3 says CLMP sales page. So I needed to put together a sales page that had information on all of my different Charmed Life master planners, since there's a whole variety of them now. And so for me, I have made a bunch of sales pages in the past. Like, I'm someone who's been running a business for several years at this point. I'm not new to creating sales pages. So for me, I kind of instinctually just defaulted to making this a single task on my to-do list, because I knew that it wasn't something as involved as putting together a project. I knew it was only going to be like 2 or 3 different actions, but when I saw this on my to-do list, I actually ended up skipping over it, thinking, okay, well, I'll do the next thing on my list first, the worksheets I needed to accomplish. And I will go ahead and put together the post for my Instagram. That was something I was also able to accomplish ahead of this task that was listed as number 1 on my top 3 for the day. So basically, every time I looked at my planner and saw this listed out, I got a little bit stressed out. Like, have you ever had that happen where you're looking at a task and you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this? You know, like, oh, this is a little bit more involved. And for me, I ended up completely skipping doing it on that day, and I didn't even end up coming back to it for the rest of the week. I did go ahead on Thursday, list out what the actions were going to be that I thought were going to be involved with the sales page. You might be able to see on Thursday the 11th, there's like a list that's been like dashed out where, you know, for the sales page where I needed to get some positive reviews, create uniform graphics, and create the text or copy for the page. So like I said, 3 different actions, but those 3 actions were so different from each other that it really became something that was almost like a mini project. I wouldn't go ahead and put together a full project plan for just 3 actions, but they were different enough that it was overwhelming me and my expectations. So I literally did not get this task done during this week. So what did I end up doing? So on Monday morning, or I guess I should say Sunday when I was doing my planning, I broke out this task, right, the sales page, into those 3 major items or actions that I needed to accomplish, and actually made each one of those one of my top 3 for the day. So you can see on Monday the 15th, the first item says collect revs of master planner. I just needed to go through and collect different reviews that people had given me of the planner to use as reference. The next item says write sales page text. So that's very specific. I'm saying I need to write the sales page text. Totally get that. And then the third item was to actually build the sales page. So I actually had to go into the back end of my site and do some coding and build a complete page. So I think you guys can see how, like, when I have it listed like this, a lot of you might be like, whoa, Alexis, that seems like a little mini project. So you guys probably get it, right? That it was too overwhelming to be one item on my to-do list, and that's why I didn't get it done. So I did, successfully accomplish it on Monday. When I saw the items broke out like this, it made it so much easier for me to understand my expectations and to actually get started executing and acting on the tasks. But this really is a very common issue that many people have. Even for me, someone who has done sales pages, like I said, time and time again, I should have known better than to write it as one item, but I didn't, right? For whatever reason, I put it as one item, probably because I thought in my head, well, you've done this a million times before. It should be no big deal for you. But it clearly was a big deal because we can't really judge from day to day what our capacity is going to be and where our energy is going to be out. Maybe if on Wednesday the 10th, I had a ton of energy and was really gung-ho about, working on my website and doing coding that day, maybe I would have been able to complete it. It's really hard to say, but on that day, I just didn't for whatever reason. Maybe I was low energy. Maybe I was feeling overwhelmed. I can't actually specifically remember the reason why I didn't get it done, other than I just remember every time I looked at it, I was like, I do not have the mental capacity for this right now. So I deferred it to, the next week. And because I properly broke it out, it actually got completed. So I hope that this was a good example for you on how to change something on your to-do list from being like this project that takes up one action spot to being something that you break down a little bit more in depth so that you can execute it. So you don't make the mistake of putting things on your to-do list that are really more like projects than individual items. So if you just take one thing away from today's video, I want it to be that if you're someone who is having issues with getting things on your to-do list done, I want you to look at the items that you're having trouble accomplishing and ask yourself how you could take that item and break it down into specific action steps a little bit more in depth in order to actually begin taking action on getting it done. Because sometimes I think we just don't always have the capacity to undertake something unless it is literally written out for us in detail. And I'm definitely someone who is very into almost making mundane lists of individual tasks in order to get myself to get started on a project or a task that seems a little bit more unclear or just isn't something that I have the mental capacity to just dive into without seeing a complete list of actions written out for me. So I hope that this video has been helpful and insightful for you. I would like to hear, what you think about today's video and what you think about the strategy of breaking down items a little bit more in detail if you're struggling to actually get started. Have you ever, faced a time where you've put a project on a to-do list and didn't get it done, and then maybe you realized afterwards that the reason why was because it was too much to be a single item on a to-do list? So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about today's video and if you've ever experienced this issue. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it wherever you think it will be applicable online. And if you would like more of the behind the scenes of my productivity, life, and business, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at MissTrenchcoat. I have been posting up a storm on my Instagram and my Instagram stories, and so many of you guys have given me such great feedback about the things I've been posting, so I'm really glad that they've been helpful and motivational to you. And of course, if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more awesome videos by me, and until next time, bye-bye!